want to talk to you today about a man who faced unimaginable trials and yet remained faithful to God. The book of Job is one of the most profound and challenging books in the Bible, and it has so much to teach us about faith, suffering, and God's sovereignty. Now, the Bible tells us that Job was a blameless and upright man who feared God and shunned evil. This wasn't just some casual faith. Job was deeply committed to God. And you know what? God had blessed him abundantly. Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he was incredibly wealthy. We're talking 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys. Plus, he had a large number of servants. Job was considered the greatest man among all the people of the East. What's really important to note is that his wealth wasn't just about material possessions. Job's family life was rich too. His children would feast together, and Job would consistently offer sacrifices on their behalf, just in case they had sinned. This shows us Job's deep concern for his family's spiritual well-being. Now, we need to understand that there's more going on here than just what's happening on earth. The Bible gives us a glimpse into the heavenly realm. One day, the angels came to present themselves before God, and Satan was among them. God points out Job's faithfulness, but Satan challenges God. He basically says, well, of course Job is faithful. You blessed him with everything. Take it all away, and he'll curse you to your face. This is where things get really interesting. God allows Satan to test Job. But notice this, God sets the boundaries, and then boom, the calamities start hitting Job one after another. First, the Sabaeans attack and steal all his oxen and donkeys, killing the servants watching them. While that messenger is still speaking, another one comes and says fire fell from heaven and burned up all the sheep and the servants with them. Can you imagine? But it doesn't stop there. Next, the Chaldeans form 3 raiding parties and make off with all the camels, killing more servants. And then, the most devastating news of all, a mighty wind strikes the house where all of Job's children were feasting, and they all die. In one day, Job loses everything. His wealth, his servants, and worst of all of his children. In the face of all this devastation, Job fell to the ground in worship.
Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised.
This is the kind of faith that we should aspire to. A faith that stands firm even in the face of devastating loss. Job is struck with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. Now, imagine this scene. Job is sitting among the ashes, scraping himself with a piece of broken pottery.
Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die?
Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?
Now enter Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. They tear their robes and sprinkle dust on their heads. Then they sit with him on the ground for 7 days and 7 nights, not saying a word. At first, this seems like a great example of how to comfort someone who's suffering. But then they open their mouths and things start to go downhill. These friends are convinced that Job must have sinned to deserve all this suffering.
Surely your sin must be great for God to punish you so.
I have done no wrong. Why does God allow me to suffer?
God does not pervert justice. Your children must have sinned against him.
How can you say such things? I maintain my integrity. Why do good people suffer? How can we understand God's justice in a world full of pain?
As Christians, we need to wrestle with these questions. Job's story shows us that easy answers don't always cut it when it comes to the problem of suffering. Finally, after all the debates, God himself speaks to Job out of a whirlwind. But God doesn't give Job the answers he's looking for. Instead, he asks Job a series of questions about the creation of the world and the workings of nature.
Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me, if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know.
God's response reminds Job of the vast difference between God's wisdom and our human understanding. It's a humbling moment for Job, as he realizes how little he truly comprehends about God's ways.
I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes.
God honors Job's faithfulness and humility. He rebukes Job's friends and tells them to offer sacrifices, with Job praying for them. Then, amazingly, God restores Job's fortunes, giving him twice as much as he had before. He ends up with 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 donkeys. He has 7 more sons and 3 more daughters. Job lives for another 140 years, seeing his children and their children to the 4th generation. So, what can we learn from Job's story? First, that faith isn't about having an easy life. It's about trusting God even when life is hard. Second, that God's ways are often beyond our understanding, but He is always in control. And finally, that God honors those who remain faithful to Him, even if that honor doesn't always come in the way or timing we expect. Let's strive to have a faith like Job's, a faith that endures, questions honestly, and ultimately trusts in God's goodness and wisdom.